good evening. Welcome to Cardiff City TV. Well, shooting opportunity. Oh, it's brilliant. Oh, it's that goal!
Good afternoon, welcome back to Cardiff City TV, and if 14 days feels like a long time in football, then just imagine 15, that extra day, everyone else in the Championship playing yesterday and the Bluebirds having to wait to this afternoon to respond to that disappointing seven-side derby defeat that preceded this most recent international break. Things were going ever so well up until that point. In fact, we're going to hear from manager Mick McCarthy and captain Sean Morrison this afternoon ahead of the game, and they were both more than content with the way the season had been going before that disappointing loss to our near neighbours. But a chance to rebound this afternoon, and on paper a chance to rebound positively, although we probably would have said that things were looking good for a positive result 15 days ago ahead of that game with Bristol City. This afternoon then, a game against a Nottingham Forest team bottom of the Championship table with no Championship victories this season. In fact, just the 1 point on the board from them, a 1-1 draw with their near neighbours Derby, again in the preceding fixture to that international window. Brennan Johnson with the goal there, a player that Cardiff fans are probably aware of. He featured for Wales over the international break, as did a number of the young Cardiff faithful, and one of those, in Mark Harris, gets a start this afternoon for the Bluebirds also. So the team news then, Mick McCarthy has made changes, and a couple of them look enforced. No Joe Rolls in the matchday squad this afternoon is the big news from the starting 11. If you're looking for headline news as well, no space for Kiefer Moore in the starting 11. He does feature on the bench though, and when you listen to Mick McCarthy's interview in a little few minutes time, he'll explain exactly why that is the case. Obviously was ruled out for those Wales games because of a COVID close contact test, and therefore isn't fully match fit, having to have quarantined during that 10-day period. So the Cardiff team then, you should be able to see it on your screen there. Dylan Phillips keeps his place in goal, no surprise there. There's a change at the right wing-back position. Perry Ng comes back in for Tom Sang, and we expect that to flip-flop throughout the season, a keenly contested area of the Cardiff squad. The back three, as we expected, the experienced trio of Sean Morrison, the captain, with Aidan Flint and Curtis Nelson. Joel Bagan at the left-back position, alongside Will Vogts, who gets his first league start of the campaign, and the front three of Leandro Bacuna and Mark Harris this afternoon, flanking James Collins. It's been a stop-start season then for Kiefer Moore so far, but he does take his place on a very young Cardiff bench alongside the likes of Ruben Colwell, Sam Bowen, Tom Sang, Mark McGuinness fit again once more, goalkeeper Alex Smithies, and notably Kieran Evans, who scored a beautiful free kick in midweek for the under-23s as they made continued their unbeaten start to the season with a 3-0 win away at Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday, you might remember, the last team Cardiff played coming out of an international break towards the end of the last season. We all know how that went. A 6-goal defeat for the Bluebirds that afternoon. Cardiff's Achilles heel in recent season has usually been coming out of international breaks. Obviously, role reversal this time. We're going into it off the back of that defeat to Bristol City. But to reiterate, this is not a Nottingham Forest team in form whatsoever. Defeats on the board already against Coventry City, Bournemouth, Blackburn and Stoke this season in Championship play, ahead of that draw with Derby in the last fixture before the international break. And this was a team that, under the stewardship of Chris Hughton, that actually many pundits and Championship fans had thought would have had a good shot of the Championship playoffs come the end of the season. Now, that's not to say that it's already impossible, but they are bottom of the Championship table, and even a victory over Cardiff this afternoon wouldn't be enough to move them outside of the back three. 3 points for Cardiff, conversely, would be enough to move them back into 7th place and touching distance with the playoffs again, and that just shows you how quickly things change in this Championship, because we were looking ahead of that Bristol game of picking up 3 points and moving to the head of the table. So we expected Fulham and West Brom and the like to run away with things a little bit this season. That certainly didn't go to plan this afternoon, this weekend, where really the takeaway from yesterday were a couple of stuttering results for the big guns coming out of the international break. So we'll talk a little bit, hopefully, with a colleague of mine, John Donovan, in a few minutes' time to discuss this afternoon's game. He's at the City Ground, and discuss the Nottingham Forest team and the little bit of problems they find themselves in the moment. But first, let's hear from Cardiff manager Mick McCarthy.
We are looking pretty good, actually, looking at the board there. Yeah, they're all... There's some coming back from international duty today, but they're all fit. There's none of them injured. Kieran Brown played on Wednesday, so he'll have a recovery day. Other than that, I'm looking at the board there and everybody's fit to play. I've got Isaac Vassell and Lee Tomlin who are both injured, and that's it. But look, Chris has experienced enough. They've had a tough start. I'm sure he'll have been working through the international break. I don't know how many players he's had away to make sure that they get off to a good start now from after the international break. And I remember the last one when we played Sheffield Wednesday, and we ended up having had good results. We'd beaten Swansea before that. So, you know, you don't see things. The international break, how does it affect everybody? Don't know. Players are away. Some teams have players there. But no, look, there's going to be nothing given and nothing expected from either of us. They had issues with COVID, didn't they? So I think that caused problems. You know, you don't need that at the start of the season. You only have to have one bad result, and then that can be quickly followed by another one. And I've watched the games. They've been very close. It's been by a goal pretty much most of the time. They've not played badly in them, and yet they are where they are. So I don't think they've all suddenly become a bad team, and certainly Chris hasn't become a bad manager and a bad coach. And I worry about where they are, not for him, but for us, because they've got to be a reaction. They've had the 2 weeks. I would have thought he'd be saying, look, we haven't played badly. We've got to get results. And I would think all the players are smarting as well. You know, I don't think, because I know Chris, there'll be nobody turning against him, that's for sure, because he's a great guy. And I think they'll all be with him. So we're going to have our hands full on Sunday. It'll be a tough game for us. Yeah, Ruben starting his first international, and then Mark Harris coming on and having a hand in the winner when they won 3-2 when Gareth Bale gets his hat-trick. I said to him, you know, you could have scored. He said, yeah, I probably should have done. I said, yeah, but you didn't miss the target. It kept it alive. Was it James recycled it and Gareth Bale gets his goal? So, you know, he's had a hand in that. And I thought, I was at the game on Wednesday night. I thought he was great when he came on, running in behind, caused them problems. It was a good sub appearance. You know, Ruben, he got his debut last year, and sadly we've missed out on Isaac Davis, who got injured in the last training session before the last game, and he'd have been in and around it, I think. Mark Harris, it's the work TC does with them. The strikers, certainly with Mark, he's improved no end, and he will continue to improve. Yeah, it's great. And I think it's nice when you see players coming through the academy. And it's nice when the other academy lads see lads getting a game in the first team and then seeing what might happen and getting an international cap. And it's not just coming on as a sub in a friendly. You know, Ruben started and Sparky comes on in an important international match that's a qualifier. So it's great for them. It's great for the club.
The gaffer Mick McCarthy there talking about the positivity of youth around the Cardiff camp at the moment, and also making a point that Sean Morrison will reiterate when we hear from our interview with the captain as well, about that Chris Hughton hasn't become a bad manager overnight, and certainly this talented Nottingham Forest squad haven't become a poor squad overnight either. Actually, a squad that was strengthened in that transfer window as well, just before the international break, which is something we haven't touched on, but I will be talking about with my colleague John Donovan in a minute or so. First of all, before we join John in the commentary position at the City Ground, we'll just run you through the Nottingham Forest team quickly. And looks like a change of personnel, but also a change in approach there. It looks like they've gone to a 4-4-2, so 2 strikers up top, possibly to go and give some work to the Cardiff back 3. So it's Bree-Samba in goals as expected. 2 newcomers in the full-back position, Jed Spence, who arrived on transfer deadline day from Neil Warnock's Middlesbrough, and Max Lowe from Sheffield United as well. 2 low knees then in the full-back position. They've got their first-choice centre-half pairing back for the first time this season. Joe Worrell fit again to go and partner Scottish international Scott McKenna at the back. The returning James Garner, he's signed on for a second season now on loan at Nottingham Forest from Manchester United. He impressed greatly the second half of last season, and he'll partner Ryan Yates in the middle of the park. And out wide, it's Philip Zinkernagel and Welshman Brennan Johnson, who has played most of this season as a number 10, but he's going to play wide on the left-hand side this afternoon. And the strike pairing of Lewis Grabban and Lyle Taylor, the duo that we hope that the trio of Flint, Nelson and Morrison will be able to keep quiet. Now, hopefully, with the magic of technology, we should be able to join my colleague John Donovan in position. Didn't manage to find himself a nice secure room like I managed all of last season. He's slumming it in the press box at the City Ground. It's a ground with plenty of heritage, but not a great deal of facilities, is it, John?
It's not, Ash. First of all, can you hear me? Because the 1,600 Cardiff City fans are making a lot of noise away to my right. So am I coming through okay?
You are. That's very good to hear, though.
Yes, it's a ground steeped in history, as you know, Ash. 2-time European champions, and always great to come here. But some of the press facilities are a little antiquated. But I must say thank you to the staff here. It was a lovely tuna sandwich for the game.
Oh, good. Catering's back. We're all pleased with that. I look forward to Coventry on Wednesday. Nottingham Forest team, it looks, John, headline-wise, that they're going to go with 2 up top, which is something they haven't done yet this season.
I'm really interested. Like you, I looked at it and thought, well, it's 4-4-2. I just wonder whether Lewis Grabban might drop off a little and allow Lyle Taylor to play in front of him. I think Lyle Taylor is a real thorn in the side of any team he plays. He gets under the skin. You almost want to give away fouls against him. You want to hit him. You want to kick him up in the air. So I think he's quite a potent tool for Nottingham Forest. It will be interesting to see whether Lewis Grabban plays as an out-and-out striker alongside him, or maybe in his more advanced years now, where he has that football IQ, perhaps dropping in to play in the hole. But certainly, I think that's a good front two for Nottingham Forest. Maybe not a lot of pace to run in behind, Ash, but I think Grabban's got the nous, the goal-scoring ability. And every time I see Lyle Taylor, I think he's one of those rats that just gets under the skin of centre-halves and can draw people into bookings, free kicks, and Cardiff City have to be mindful of that this afternoon.
I'm glad you mentioned pace, because it looks like he had a choice between pace and a bit more football intelligence on either flank, and it looks like Chris Hughton's gone for the latter. So Mighton and Lolly both left on the bench this afternoon in place of Brennan Johnson, and a player in Philip Zinkernagel, who we were both incredibly enthused about when he played against us for Watford. Now, I'm beyond second-guessing what Watford do with personnel decisions, but I'm amazed he wasn't given 6 months to see what he could do with the Championship, and it's a huge pickup for Nottingham Forest. Sorry, that he couldn't prove what he could do at the Premier League level, and it's a huge pickup for Nottingham Forest back in the Championship.
I think so. First of all, Ash, I think I really like Mighton, and to see him not on the team sheet as a Cardiff City fan, that's a little bit of a relief to me. I think he's got a lot of potential. Lolly was a player we spoke about in the same way a couple of years ago and hasn't really kicked on, which has surprised me. Zinkernagel, you're completely right, doesn't have that burning pace, but what I think he did so well for Watford, and we remarked upon it, was just finding pockets of space, drifting in from wide areas to narrow areas, playing between the lines, and just confusing midfielders, fullbacks, centre-halves, who should be picking him up. And I really thought he ran the game, or was a large part of Watford being dominant in promotion success. And yeah, I think he's someone. It'd be interesting to see what happens. Pack, Oates, when he drifts inside, does one of those go with him? Does a centre half step out perhaps? Does that then cause problems with Taylor and Graben having more space? Zinchenko is if you're going to keep an eye on somebody this afternoon, Ash, I would keep my eye on him.
And they did make some moves at the end of that window. We expected them to. What are they up to? Nearly 80 sign-ins now in the 4 years since the ownership group took control of Nottingham Forest. So 2 new arrivals in the full-back positions today in Jed Spence and Max Lowe, who they've only got the 9 full-backs on the books, so they're really worried in that area for depth. And James Garner, a player who's returned to the club and returns to the team, and he did bring an element of composure in that middle of the park they've been severely lacking in the first month of the season.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And with Garner, before Manchester United let him back out again, they signed him up to a new contract. He's captained most of the age groups at Manchester United. That's no mean feat at all. So he'll be someone that even at the young age of 20 can bring composure. But it still looks to me a little bit of an unbalanced squad for Nottingham Forest. As you say, a lot of centre-halves, a lot of full-backs, a lot of midfielders who'd like to sit deep and maybe pick the ball off the centre-halves, as you'll hear the round of applause from the whole fans as the Forest team go off the pitch from their warm-up. But I'm not sure that in terms of creativity, in terms of pace to go in behind, I'm not sure they have a lot of that. So I expect Forest to have a decent amount of possession today. I expect them to pass the ball around, but I wouldn't be surprised, Ash, to see a lot of it in front of Cardiff City. Now, I'm not saying Cardiff City will, then play like Brazil when they pick up the ball, but, they will be able to play on the counter-attack. And Cardiff City, as we know, if they get into the final third and win free kicks, win throw-ins, they'll cause problems. So, I'm not sure what to make of this Nottingham Forest side. There's quality in individuals. I think the squad is a little unbalanced in terms of what they have and personnel at their disposal. But then, I said 2 weeks ago that I thought Bristol City were of a similar ilk, and we know what happened there. So I'm not going to stick my head above the parapet again.
One thing's for sure is that they are able to call upon their first-choice centre-half pairing for the first time this season. Worrell coming back in is a huge plus for them. To combat that, James Collins gets another start, deemed the fitter of the 2 strikers at the moment because of Kiefer's quarantine period over the international break. And me and you get our wish because we get to see Mark Harris start a game, maybe in tandem with him, maybe on the left-hand side of that front 3. But either way, I'm delighted that he's in the starting lineup.
Yeah, I along with you, Ash, I've kind of pressed his case from pre-season because I thought he was very impressive in pre-season. I thought on both occasions for Wales, he changed the game, once for a victory, once for a draw. On Wednesday, when I was a fan in the cheap seats even, I was imploring Robert Page to bring him on a little earlier. So very happy to see Mark Harris there. Just touching on the Nottingham Forest centre-halves, I've got to say I'm surprised Joe Worrell is still at the club. And, in the ilk of someone like Michael Dawson, I expected a mid-table, top 8 Premiership club to maybe come in for him. Surprised he's still here, but I think he's a centre-half who can play the physical battle as well, but also he's one of those centre-halves we're all after. He can bring the ball out from the back, he can start that transition, he can link with the midfield, and Joe Worrell is a very good footballer. And of course, Scott McKenna getting his Scotland cap against Denmark. If there's strength that Nottingham Forest have, I think certainly it's strength in those 2 centre-halves. They'll cause a tough test. It'll be an interesting matchup with Collins, Harris, and Bacuna. And Leandro Bacuna, continues, I think, to be a little bit of a square peg in a round hole. I really want him to come good because I do think he's a little bit of a scapegoat at the moment, perhaps. Hopefully today he can impress himself on this game, because if not, we saw against Bristol City, if that front 3 aren't going as a press and going as a unit and going as a whole entity, the Cardiff City system, very quickly breaks down, Ash.
Thanks, John. Enjoy the game. I'll catch up with you later. So we are 10 minutes away from kick-off now at the City Ground. We've got Captain Sean Morrison coming up in about a minute's time. First of all, just to remind you, Cardiff team news this afternoon. Then Joe Rolls misses out. There's a change of the right wing back position where Perry Ng comes in for Tom Sang. Will Volks gets his first league start of the season alongside Marlon Pack in the middle of the park, and James Collins starts through the middle with Mark Harris in support. Those are the headline news for the Bluebirds as they go up against the Nottingham Forest team today, where they're protecting 5 straight wins in the league at City Ground. It's a ground where we've had plenty of success in recent seasons. Did lose their last year in the FA Cup, but we'll gloss over that for the sake of a good statistic. Mixed bag here at home, actually, at the Cardiff City Stadium in recent seasons, where they've actually lost their last 2. So a similar record there as we went into the game against Bristol City. Here's hoping for a much better result this afternoon. We will be back in about 8 minutes' time for live commentary of this game at the City Ground with myself, Ashley James, on commentary. On the other side of this interview with Sean Morrison and a bit more content.
I mean, look, we were disappointed with the Bristol City game, losing before the international. It's nice to finish on a win. So to finish with a defeat it was a tough one to take, because we started the season okay, couple wins, couple draws, and Bristol City was probably, in terms of controlling the game, was probably one of the best we had played. We know there's definitely room for improvement, and that's what we've been working on the last 2 weeks. The boys that have been here that haven't been on international have been working hard and preparing for this next block of games. So we need to be better if we can in the next block and try and close that gap on the top 2, top 6. Look, Chris Hughton is a fantastic manager and he's got a great squad there. Trolls is his assistant, who we worked with here for many years, and I know how good of a coach he is. So it's a tough one, because you expect a team like Forest to be probably higher in the league, but you know, with the quality they possess in their squad, that it's going to be an extremely tough game on Sunday. I'm sure the last 2 weeks they've been working hard, focusing on our game specifically to try and get some points on the board. So it's going to be a tough game, extremely tough. They're going to be right at it, and especially being at home. Forest is one of my favourite places to play. It's a great stadium. Their fans get on top of you when their team are doing well. So we'll have to try and quieten down the crowd and be professional and do a good job. And because it's going to be a tough game. No, I fully expect it to be a really tough game. I've been with Sparky here a long time, and his career's been up and down. You never know whether he's going to really cement a place here at Cardiff or he's going to move on. He's had a couple loans and come back. In the last year or so, I think he's come on leaps and bounds in his all-round play. His movement and his finishing's always been fantastic. He just looks a much more mature player. And I thought when he come on in the first game, I thought he changed the game and give them the lift they needed. And then obviously Ruben starting, which is incredible to start his first start for Wales in a World Cup qualifier. Absolutely amazing. And same for Ruben. He's, the last year, the progression you see with him turn into a man. He's obviously a very physical lad as it is for his age, but he's got a very steady head on his shoulders, good people around him. So look, I think we're very lucky to have them both here. Yeah, like I said before, look, Kiefer is such a integral part to this team. Not only on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. He's a big character in the changing room. He gets on well with everybody. When you've got a player like Kiefer in the team, it gives you every opportunity to win a game, especially in the Championship. So very, very happy to still have him here. And hopefully he can score a few more goals than he did last season.
Top 5 in association with the Big Yellow Self-Storage Company.
Morrison's gone forward from the back, so too has Bambar. Who will take this one? Right behind the line of the shot, if it is going to be a shot. If it's going to be Hoyland. 16 minutes to go. What a pace. It is Hoyland, chipping it high towards the far post. Nodded down in front of goal, and Goodison has scored! It's 2-1.
Oh, what a finish from Aaron Goodison. Readjusts
still going forward into the area. And he get his shot in, he can. Yeah. Oh, what a goal from Graham Kavanagh! Wide to Harris, back to Bennett, first time ball forward. Harris on the chase, and his feet lead high. He's going to take on Worrell, and he goes to the byline. Gets the cross in, cleared away. Comes out to Gunnarsson, he tries the shot. What a goal from Aaron Gunnarsson!
That's a wonderful strike. He has time to line it up and pick his opportunity, and his technique doesn't let him down. Good positive play from Joe Bennett and Kadeem Harris on the left flank. A lovely weighted ball.
The left-hand channel for Forest. Forest had a long way to go, but made up that ground pretty quickly. Got there before Ben Osborne. Now Ward's in possession again, then end stuff. Edge of the area on his left foot.
Takes the shot on beautifully so. 25-yard rising effort, and it's flown past Jordan Smith in the Forest goal. And Cardiff lead by 2 goals to 0.
What a strike that is from Danny Ward. Right into the top corner of the net. He's cut in on his left foot. We said it was a warning for Forest. They've been committing plenty of men forward. And Danny Ward stayed there, managed to get on the ball, and he's managed to capitalise on that. He's cut in, fired it into the top corner of the net. It's a fantastic strike on the forward.
It's a sensational strike from Danny Ward. Good afternoon, welcome to Cardiff City TV. Welcome to the City Ground on the banks of the Trent in Nottingham for live commentary of the Bluebirds' visit to Nottingham Forest this Sunday afternoon. There are 16,000 of your fellow faithful in attendance here, making for a raucous old atmosphere on a setting where Cardiff hold an exceptional recent record. 5 championship games unbeaten, 5 championship wins on the spin. And the Bluebirds will be looking for another 3 points this afternoon to move back towards the playoff places. Changes in personnel and in shape, we think, for Nottingham Forest, where Chris Hooton, desperate for a win, goes with Lewis Grabham and Lyle Taylor up top in what looks like being a 4-4-2 formation, with Philip Zinkernagel and Welshman Brennan Johnson favoured in the wide areas. There's a start also for Joe Worrell in the centre of defence. First time he and Scott McKenna have been able to be called upon as a centre half partnership so far this season. There's also starts for late window arrivals in the forms of Loney's Max Lowe and Jed Spence in the full-back positions. For the Bluebirds, we've got changes and late ones also. A switch in the right wing-back position from that defeat to Bristol City, where Perry and G comes back in for Tom Sang. A change in the middle of the park, where Joe Rawls misses out through injury, so Will Voss comes in for him. And there starts for Mark Harris alongside James Collins, which we expected, but also for Sam Bowen, which that graphic hasn't yet caught up with. So young Sam Bowen has stepped into the starting lineup in the last couple of minutes to replace for Leandro Bacuna, who pulled up in the pre-match warm-up. So we think it'll be more of a 5-3-2 formation, with Bowen playing alongside Volks and Pack in the middle of the park, and Mark Harris joining James Collins up top. 2 teams in need of a win as we enter this second little period of the championship season. Transfer window and first international window behind. 5 games till the next international break at the start of October, and a chance and a start for teams to start getting points on the board and separating themselves from the pack. In the form of Nottingham Forest, they're still looking for their first league win of the season. Bottom of the championship table entering into this afternoon. Cardiff had a chance to go top ahead of that Bristol City game prior to the 3-match international window. A chance here this afternoon to move back towards the top 6. You can see that is young Sam Bowen to get a